I guess. I can only guess what happened. Definitely that's an unreported absence if we are completely honest for the Season 8 champion. As looking at the championship standings, the man who we speak about, Tony Ritchie, is currently 13 points behind Drake Dempsey, and after this race it definitely won't be lower amount. Drake Dempsey has got 106 points in the board. Third is Ryan Gropp, who is having 73 points for the McLaren driver. Then we've got both Ferraris, Jonathan Foss not racing today, 47, Arjan Bilbas 42, Tim Bayer 36, Cameron Dowds 26, Quill Pavlakovic 25, Kamil Komoń 16, and Justin Chevalier 15. Rounds up the top 10. Definitely there will be a chance for a couple of drivers to get promoted to the championship standings today. Especially with the qualifying in wet Canada, which you can see is very wet. So wet that the drivers have to use the wet tires, the ones with the blue Pirelli title, as one of the first ones to come out on track is Arjan Bilbas, but the first one who is going to start lap is going to be Luke Mills. Red Bull not having the greatest start of the season. Luke Mills although scored 11 points, most of them in Netherlands though, that was 6 of them. Now he is racing, now he is the first one to make a lap on the full wet qualifying, is going to set up a benchmark for us today. The man who's not been on the podium since Season 7, unless we count Season 9 pre-season in Portugal, where he finished 3rd at the end of the day. Now Luke Mills is the first one to make a lap, and we'll see what are the possibilities around World Canada. I don't know the weather for today's race. We'll definitely check on that one. As in comparison, Arjan Bilbas is setting a lap of 23.6 for it. I have seen Luke Mills doing 24.0, so there's definitely a massive difference. In the wet conditions, we'll see bigger gaps than usual. For example, seen 2nd to 16th within around 5 to 6 tenths of a second in Austria. Now the gaps are going to be way bigger, as Luke Mills is now approaching the DRS straight, but it's not the DRS one. In wet conditions, also there's a huge traffic ahead of him, containing both McLarens, a Ferrari of Kece and an Alfa Romeo, as Luke Mills locks up a little bit on the final chicane, Wall of Champions famous one, which is also glitched in this game, as it was in the previous games as well. Luke Mills sets 22.8. The glitch what I meant is basically the wall, once hit, may go flying all over the place and basically end the race for all of the people, as Arjan Bilbas pushes the line to make 22.2. This time he's on provisional pole. Behind them there is Hugo Nilsson. We'll see about his lap time, what it's going to be. Nilsson is about to cross the line now, as behind him there's one of the Alfa Romeos. I believe it might be Ferry Wagenaar, 24.0. Ferry Wagenaar is in Sector 2. That was Drake Dempsey, who set at 21.8. Quill Pavlakovic, 22.9. This is his lap time of today. We still got 30 more minutes to go. McGinty places himself in 5th. Well, in Season 8, which was last season apparently, we've got only one race when there was less than 17 drivers, and that was Italian Grand Prix, and that was round 6. Now we're having round 6 again, and it's 15 drivers again. So I hope for a full grid next week in Circuit of the Americas. I honestly don't know what is going on with league racing commitment these days. I know there's some people who genuinely couldn't race today, like last-minute dropouts. That was 2 of them, for example. But to be completely honest, I don't understand what's going on with league racing in 2023. I just hope this will be an entertaining race around the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, as it has seen a bit of history of Ero. For example, we can mention the first ever race in Ero in general. That was the social race around Canada, actually. This is where we are as well. With, as far as I'm aware, Nurluser, Stan van Nurlus winning ahead of Kamil Komoń, and then VLD Thomas. That was very long time ago. February 2019 to be exact, because at 22nd, this was our first race. And qualifying was dry, but the race was wet, just like we are having it right now. McGinty jumps into third. This is a great chance for a couple of drivers at least to set on some decent results here in Canada. For example, Lucas McGinty, who has got his 4th place taken away in Spain, for example, taken away from example, for the penalty he's got for an incident with Luke Mills, who's ironically right behind him. Daniel Gottschalk about to cross the line. It's going to be in 21s, probably. It is. And it's 60 milliseconds behind Drake Dempsey, so that is very, very close first round of qualifying for him. How about Drake? Where is he? He's currently in Sector 2, and he's 4 tenths up on his lap time, so we might be going to 21s. I also wonder when it's going to be enough dry enough for inters, although it's going to be wet, but not that wet. As Ryan Gropp is the 3rd person to set into 21s, as Drake Dempsey is already half a second faster. It all depends on these 2 corners. He's missing the apex a little bit, but I believe he's still going to gain. Let's see about that. Well, we cannot see the delta, but he's still doing decently. He's still pushing, so there's definitely something in the tank there. As he's about to cross the line, he's got 3 more laps of fuel if he wants to do more laps on the same compound. As Drake Dempsey about to cross the line on the 5th gear. Little bit of a slide. He's about to set the time of 21.2. And that is provisional pole position being secured at the moment. Looking furthermore, there's a Mercedes, and I believe that's one of the drivers who is coming back to Ero after a long break. That is Harry Wells. George Parr likely to start last today, as been told, as a last minute send up. Ferry Wagner, this time the Alfa Romeo number 2 driver at the moment in the championship. In terms of constructors, crosses the line, gets 6th. While Drake is fighting for the championship, Ferry Wagner's hopes are all about getting regular points every race and maybe securing a guaranteed seat for season 10 of Ero. Which I can already tell you, I've got some brilliant ideas for it. Like, for example, Red Reveal, of course, is already done when it comes to scratches. Basically, all it needs is maybe a couple more details and drivers to sign up, and that's it. As Ferry Wagner has done 7th place at the moment, as he's been outscored by Kirill Pavlakovic. He's been doing a great job in this qualifying session. On the 4th place, he is halfway through it. Now he's starting yet another lap. That was a cooldown lap a little bit. Ryan Gropp's out in the end of Sector 1, as we'll be going there through around turns 5 and 6. As Kirill Pavlakovic also spins round on the same place. However, he's still alive. He's still not DNF'd from the qualifying. Now he has to let past Hugo Nilsson, who's pushing right now and sliding quite a lot, losing 2 tenths thanks to that, for example. McGinty is meanwhile on the 2nd place. What is going on with the Alpine driver, the reserve from PCF, to doing great result around here? 21.7. Fantastic result for the Alpine at the moment. But we still have to remember there's more so 7 minutes to the end of this qualifying, as Gottschalk meanwhile goes 2nd, only a 10th behind Drake. That is going to be very equal between these 2, I believe. If one AlphaTauri is non-existent on the grid today, the second one is going to make up all of the losses. At least the constructors, Hershey invalidates. Chevalier is invalidated his lap, but he's on the outlap, so that doesn't really count. How about Hugo Nilsson? He's currently on the final chicane, gained 2 tenths, actually 4 tenths, in Sector 2, as he's about to cross the line now to do 23.1, placing him on 11th. Team Bayer now being led past by Julio Figueira, fastest Sector 2, so his first lap, like proper lap in the qualifying, maybe really, really decent. We'll see about that after the final Wall of Champions chicane. Team Bayer is approaching it on the 4th gear, so not 5th at the moment, when he's going to turn on the 5th gear. And right now, as he's about to cross the line, it's going to be within 21s, I believe. It is 21.957, exactly 7 tenths behind the pole sitter Drake Dempsey, and on the 5th place, and 1 millisecond ahead of Kirill Pavlakovic. Plenty of drivers are currently in the pits, as I believe Julio Figueira has spun around and lost his front wing. Probably preparing themselves for a set of winter tires, as I believe. As there's already both Alfa Romeos and George Pa on the who have set into tires. Plenty of drivers have done plenty of laps on the wets. You can see, for example, Quentin Hesse has gone for 5-lap stint in this qualifying session. So we'll be following if the Inter strategy pays off, actually. Looking for more drivers on the track. Quentin Hesse without a front wing. Turns 3 and 4 and 5 are basically brutal, to be completely honest, with the amounts of front wing losses we have seen. As Justin Chevalier, because I believe just finished lap, still in 10th though. Figueira joins the pit lane. Team Bayer is still on these wets. I don't think he's going to improve on them though. It's probably the best moment to pit for the Inters. You can see he's struggling to find proper braking points at the moment, so I believe it's time to go to this to the garage and take on the Inters. The green tires are definitely going to do a better job in these conditions. It's still wet, it's still raining, but not as much as you can see. We've seen a proper storm at the start of the session. Now we don't. As one of the Williams drivers, that's Król Palokaj, is about to cross the line with a lap time of, let's see that one, 21.8, so definitely a cooldown lap or installation lap or something. He just needs to beat Team Bayer by 2 milliseconds in order to be 5th. That can be a lot. That can be very little. We'll see about that. As plenty of drivers are still on the wets. Drake MC and Ferry Wagner have gone back to the wets. But the Rebel Bus is wondering about the Inters in the pit lane. As Lukmus has gone purple in Sector 1, but I don't think it's a proper purple lap time. He's using ERS though. Gottschalk on the Inters. He might be going for the front row. But he might be also going for pole position, because why not? As Lukmus, I don't know how he's not invalidated in the entry of this chicane, but he's invalidated on the exit. Looking for more drivers on the laps. That's definitely Król Pawlakovic on the longest straight of the track right now. The Lukmus will not make any more laps. More drivers are switching to the Inters. You can see Bayer and Ferry Wagner have now ordered the new tires. Król goes into the pit lane. How about Justin Chevalier, who's right behind one of the Mercedes drivers, and I believe that's Figueira who's invalidated. And Chevalier has decided to back out anyways, as Luke Mills has lost a bit over a 10th of a second in his previous hot lap. Arjan Bilbas on the outlap on the Inter, so I wonder, is this the lap for pole position potentially, as long as Daniel Gottschalk doesn't make one, but we know that Arjan Bilbas is a controller driver. He's racing on a controller, and these gamepads may actually be very OP, overpowered, when they are in the Inter conditions. And I speak from experience. I was personally very quick on the controller on the Inter tires. And this might be a case here. But you know, that was F1 2021, that was F1 2020 when I dominated the Austrian Grand Prix PSF2. So we'll see about that right now. Ferrari driver is currently struggling a little bit. Struggling pretty much, so he's definitely going to back out of this lap unless he pulls up some sort of a miracle into Sector 2. He's still trying though, so we'll see about that. But I don't think it's the weather for the Inters just yet, or it's just a very bad lap, or actually the first sector. Luke Mills goes third meanwhile, so this might be still great conditions for the wet tires. As you can see, Gottschalk is struggling, Luke Mills goes third, and this might be the best qualifying position in a very long time for the Red Bull driver. Look, he was like 4th in Spain. Continuing though, I've seen Julio Figueira jumping into 8th. Arjan Bilbas probably waiting one more lap. Doing a nice donut. But Arjan, if we keep going this way, you'll be definitely out of the qualifying and start not 10th but last. McIntyre retires from the session. So no more laps for the Alpine driver and Red Bull, of course, in PCF2. Drake Dempsey about to cross the line, but that was probably an installation lap or just an out lap as he's starting right now with the final lap of the session, possibly. Daniel Gottschalk is currently approaching Sector 3 with a loss of 2 seconds. So this may be not inter enough in order to make a decent lap time and improve what we have done in the wets. This is why McGinty and Grob have probably both retired. As Julio Figueira is 4 tenths up, which would place him in currently 5th, maybe even 4th place if he keeps it well in Sector 3. It all depends on the final chicane now for him, as more and more drivers are crossing the line in order to start the final qualifying runs. How about Rick Dempsey? Where is he? 6 tenths of a loss in Sector 1. How about Sector 2? Because that is definitely going to be very interesting for us. It's a loss of 8 tenths. Not worth it. How about Julio Figueira, who's crossing the line now and sets a 5th lap time of this session. Luke Mills has done equal Sector 1 to be completely honest. Surprising for me. But if he pulls up a great lap, like lap of his life, it may be a pole position for him today here in Montreal. And I don't even remember if he's got any here. As Drake Dempsey crosses the line, does not improve. Luke Mills is 2 tenths up, which could place him currently in the front row of the grid. One of the Ferraris, that's Heshe, is ahead of the Red Bulls, ahead of the Red Bull driver, who is very, very close from potentially getting in the front row, at least. It may be a pole position for the for Luke Mills, who's also getting a slipstream from Quentin Heshe, the Ferrari reserve driver. Luke Mills through the final chicane. He cannot mess this one up. He's now approaching the main straight, crosses the line. This is going to be pole position for Luke Mills. It's might be the first time in his career when he gets that. Amazing result for the Red Bull. He's also getting 1 point to the championship. What kind of scenes we have seen here. But remember, that's not the end. For example, Tim Bayer is definitely going to improve. Harry Wales is not improved as well. That's it. That's it. Luke Mills is on pole position. And I need to check on the standings if it's the first time ever. This is why you see the pause menu. But absolute scenes here in Canada. Absence of a couple of drivers made it possible for Luke Mills to stand on pole position for the first time in his career. And I'm just verifying that information. As, yeah, that's the first one. That's the first one for Luke Mills around wet Canada. Absolute scenes. But he's done it. Wow. As I'll be out for a little bit of time. I'll be completely honest with you all. For a very important reason. But here's the result. On the 15th, there's George Parr in this best qualifying session for Luke Mills ever. as we are back, ideally for the start of this race. Again, it's full wet, and it's lights out, and away we go. Luke Mills gets a very decent start from pole position, and the first pole of his career, he defends Trick Dempsey. He covers the outside line, the proper racing line into turn 1, and keeps the lead of the Grand Prix. There's a little bit of a chaos behind him, but I don't see any major incidents, just a little bit of a friendly touches around the midfield of this grid. But Luke Mills keeps the lead of the Ero Pc F1 Canadian Grand Prix. It's now or never for him. He needs to survive just 35 more laps of this race here in Canada, leading the Canadian Grand Prix. It's a massive chance for him, as there is yellow flags, Julio Figueira crop, there's chaos in the midfield, as plenty of drivers are having penalties, exactly 2 of them, Chevalier and Figueira. But there's definitely a couple of wing damages, as this is just Canada and it's wet, as Luke Mills keeps the lead of the race, 2 tenths ahead of Drake Dempsey, but I think Drake Dempsey is going for a move down the inside. No, he's thinking better of it. Looking for a switchback though. So Luke Mills, although Drake and Daniel may be faster than him on the longer stints, may definitely be going for the podium. You can see the gap between him and Lucas McGinty already. It's 1.7 seconds. Drake Dempsey goes for the outside. Luke Mills most likely lets him pass, lets him go, and he also lets pass Daniel Gottschalk. So after a great start, he's dropped 2 places in 1 go. Not the greatest situation for him, but that allows Daniel Gottschalk and Drake Dempsey to fight for the win of this race, as Mills' entire gap has gone away actually. In this wet Canadian Grand Prix, Chevalier is into the pit lane. Julio Figueira stays outside. I believe there is no damage for the Mercedes driver. We'll watch the top 2 battle as of now, as Daniel Gottschalk has got way more Yaris than Drake Dempsey. I believe Luke Mills was probably letting past Drake, not bothering to fight him anyways. But extending the chicane by a fair bit, well, that was definitely weird. Maybe a bit of an error from Luke Mills. However, still great performance so far. 3rd place, pole position. He just needs to finish, and he will definitely get appointed to the championship standings, which may be vital for the Red Bull after 5 really, at most, mid performances this season, as Daniel Gottschalk is not using any short shift at all, as we've seen more yellow flags in Sector 3 that involves Julio Figueira spinning out a couple of times, calling out the virtual safety car, and if he's got wing damage, he's saved a little bit. We'll see about that, if the broadcasters will decide to actually switch the camera angles. They do now, and Julio Figueira definitely has no front wing, as you can see, and will approach the pit lane. He's going in full speed, so I believe this might be the end of the Grand Prix for him, not a weekend the Mercedes driver wished for. However, oh, what happened there? Quentin Hesche is spun around as well on this virtual safety car. Restart losing plenty of places, and Daniel Gottschalk at the same time tries to make a move on Drake Dempsey. Dempsey covers the inside line to keep the lead of this Grand Prix. However, they are will to will, plenty of action, and the virtual safety car restart, which we were just watching how Julio Figueira retires in the pit lane. Not a great weekend for the Mercedes driver. They still have hope on hard wheels. However, Drake Dempsey keeps the lead. He was very close from having it taken away from Daniel Gottschalk, as Luke Mills watches the battle from the behind. As the gap between these 2 drivers is just 2 tenths of a second. Very, very close it is. As Hugonelson fights Arian Bilbas for position number 9. And I believe the Ferrari driver will be ahead into the Wall of Champions. There's an incident, there's contact, there's massive crash of Dempsey, Mills and Gottschalk. There's 3 wide for the lead of the, not for the lead, of the 3rd place of the Grand Prix. Lucas McGinty uses it all. There was probably something going on here, as Drake Dempsey desperate to make moves into turn 1. Sorry, that's Wagner. Wagner goes 3rd. What is going on in this race? Drake Dempsey has to fight Kul Pavlakovic this time for position number 5. But as you can see, for once, Ferry Wagner is ahead of his teammate. as McGinty is alongside him, now behind him, so a position lost. However, it's maybe even a 4 wide. Drake Dempsey will definitely go down the inside here, and he goes for it for position number 5. We are not certain what happened there, but that definitely is going to be reported. Luke Mills has also lost plenty of places in the midst of that, so I don't know what happened there. But that was a bit of a unexplained carnage going on. As there is Aryan Bilbas. No, that's Quill fighting Drake into the hairpin. Then famous 10-10, which has seen plenty of dive bombs in league racing, in open lobbies, wherever basically. But Quill is still side by side with the Alfa Romeo. So that is very, very close between these two. Now probably Drake has lower wings. And using that to go away from Quill. A bit of Yaris probably as well. And he's now 5th. Team Bayer of all people leads the race now. Daniel got Shulk right behind him, having a safe gap, but also giving us a little bit of an internet issues. I don't know what's going on here, but he's losing plenty of places now. He's gone all the way to 5th. Not sure what's going on, but Daniel's definitely not having the greatest moment. Now he seems to be back to racing, so Team Bayer, of all people, leads by 2.5 seconds. Ahead of Ferry Wagner, of all people. What's going on here is unexplainable. It's actually amazing news for the drivers who haven't won, as I was thinking, who is going to actually win today, this morning, and I was thinking probably someone who hasn't won just yet. And this might be going... This might be an option for Team Bayer to win. This is his chance. Ferry Wagner in the meantime gets a 3-second time penalty, as we'll move back to around maybe 4th place as Drake Dempsey chases down Lucas McGinty. And I believe Ferry Wagner will let Drake pass as soon as he's done with the Alpine driver. Now Luke Mills, the pole sitter, will to will with Aryan Bilbas, but I think this time, yeah, it's this time Ferrari winning again on the straight line speed. As Luke Mills goes for it down the inside though. I don't think it's going to end well, however, they must trust each other very, very well. As you can see, Hugo Nilsson and Ryan Gropp are about to create a near 4 wide situation around here. It's 2 times 2 wide. It's Aryan Bilbas currently keeping his place. However, it may be Luke Mills going for a move. There is a little bit of a touch between these two. However, it's Aryan Bilbas keeping the 7th. Now, Luke Mills backs out a little bit. No, he's going for a switch back. And he's done it. He's gone for the 7th place. Now Aryan Bilbas is under pressure from Ryan Gropp as well. And this might be also an option for Hugo Nilsson to make a move into position number 9. As Ryan Gropp slides a little bit, everyone has to be very careful on the exit regardless of the weather conditions around here in Canada. As you may even spin on the 5th gear. Like everywhere in the F1 22 game, Ryan Gropp gets ahead of Aryan Bilbas on position number 8. He goes. Then we've got Hugo Nilsson under pressure this time from Quentin Hesch, who is currently on position number 11. And has gone down the inside of Hugo into position number 10. Now he's closing that point as Chevalier gets 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. McGinty has also got some in the process. With Wagner, well, Team Bayer hopes he's going to build the biggest gap possible. But I don't think it's going to happen. As soon as Drake Dempsey makes a proper move on Lucas McGinty, both are using ERS, so not a place to make a move for the Alfa Romeo driver. As we can also see, there is a big gap being formed between Kirill Pavlakovic and Luke Mills, but knowing that Luke Mills has already got pole position here in Canada, yeah, he's also 6 tenths up on his lap time. We may see the Rebel driver catching up on the train from 2nd to 6th very quickly. As also Luke Mills is being chased down by Ryan Gropp. I'm controlling the gap. Oh, there's a issues for Daniel Gottschalk, who's dropped all the way to P6. It's 1 place, but still it's 2 points lost in the championship. For a man who's proved that he can definitely get a guaranteed seat for season 10 with his pace. Now he's being chased down by Luke Mills, but I think Daniel is still going for some decent overtakes around here. We'll see about that. Within probably the next couple of laps, he's losing around a second to Quill Pavlakovic, so I think he might be catching up very quickly. As you can see, Quill struggling a little bit. Let's see the gap. It's still around a second behind the Williams. You can see how challenging these weather conditions are. And basically, Drake Dempsey has done a move on Lucas McGinty, but McGinty fights back. There is a little bit of a contact. Drake has to back out of it, but McGinty leaves enough space for Drake to get ahead of the Alpine driver. Now he's going to chase down Ferry Wagener and maybe let go in the process, as these are teammates and the championship is on the stake, is on the line. Luke Mills has meanwhile regained around 2/10 on Daniel Gottschalk, who's regained 2/10 on Quill Pavlakovic. You can see how close he is to the Williams driver, the man from the AlphaTauri. As currently we're just seeing a happy train around here in Canada. You can see Team Bayer leads the way by around 3 seconds. So it may matter a lot when actually Drake is being led past by Ferry Wagener. He's also having a little bit of a moment around here with his internet connection. But I believe that was just a little bit of a moment. Never seen him having troubles like that. And anyways, to be honest, and I was his teammate in Season 5 in PSF2 this year, for example. We won the Constructors' Championship, so that's cool. Although I've got like maybe 4 races where I just did my best. The rest essentially I got ruined. Alright, ruined people like Adam Kurtosh in the Italian Grand Prix. There is plenty of memories to remember. However, it's now Drake Dempsey being close to Ferry Wagener. Will we see any tactics going on here, or will Drake have to get the place on track? We'll see. As Drake exits the corner on the 5th gear, he's already a second ahead of McGinty. As Ferry Wagener goes on the outside line, and I think it is what it is. Ferry Wagener lets Drake past. Now Drake's quest is to get Team Bayer. The gap is 4 seconds. Quite a lot for 9 laps, but doable. As McGinty enters the pit lane. He might be going for inter tires. Team Bayer sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix. Drake Dempsey outscores him by around 30 milliseconds. As Quentin Hesch has also entered the pit lane. So we might see first drivers on the inters, and that is true. McGinty and Quentin Hesch are on the inter tires, as the rain has definitely got a little bit lighter here in Canada, as Drake nearly crashes out in the process. But he's losing only 70 milliseconds compared to his fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. Luke was currently on the 6th, the pole sitter from the race. Sensational pole sitter, we must say that, for the first time in his career. Is now chasing Daniel Gottschalk. You can see he's close to the AlphaTauri driver, I believe. Maybe going for a move anytime soon. As Daniel is struggling a little bit on these conditions. He's already a second behind Quill Pavlakovic. Also, Ferry Wagener creating the massive gap is also a very helpful factor for the number 2 driver. And the standings, of course, not to the team. Drake Dempsey 2.5 seconds behind Team Bayer already. He's regained like a second in this singular lap and goes to the pit lane. He's not going to the pit lane. Luke Mills is going to the pit lane for the inter tires. Same applies for Gottschalk, same applies for Bayer and Drake Dempsey. And there is also Alian Bilbas going to the pits. Pavlakovic makes the fast lap of the Grand Prix, so definitely the conditions are improving. As you can see, everyone is voting on inters. We'll see who's going to come out on top. Luke Mills is ahead of Daniel Gottschalk. So Daniel Gottschalk might have been changing his front wing. As Lucas McGinty is coming out of the pit lane right behind Drake, around a second behind Drake. Must probably have touched the line, but no major consequences. I don't think it should be a time penalty. As Ryan Grob is the last one to stay on the wet tires with Quill Pawlakowicz and Ferry Wagner. These drivers have probably lost a lot by now and will probably drop to last places as George Parker and Harry Wales both at the end of the grid, but still doing pretty well, keeping up with Hugo Nilsson. Luke Mills has now a singular job to keep his P7. He may be P4 at the end of the day, maybe even ahead of Lucas McGinty with the penalty the Alpine driver has got. We'll see if the top 3 goes to the pit lane. We're actually getting reverse conditions compared to what happened in our first ever race here. And that was the social race in 22nd of February 2019, if you don't remember. That was completely a reverse race when it comes to weather conditions, as it was dry at the start. Then we've got the inters, and we ended up on the wets. Also, my stream crashed back then 3 times in the process. These glitches existed even in 2018. As George Park got the 3-second time penalty. I don't know who's the second one to get a penalty. Definitely Chevalier gets the fastest lap, and he definitely feels better in these conditions. Arjen Bulbas had of Ryan Grob. No, they're side by side, and Ryan Grob gets 3-second time penalty in the process. I believe it may be appealed and removed. As Ryan goes for a move down the inside, and that was not the greatest decision, as he just helps Arjen Bulbas to spin round and lose all of the places for both of these drivers, as Arjen Bulbas is going to rejoin on position number 12. Ryan Grob, at least ahead of Hugo Nilsson. But that was a huge dive from Ryan, so even if he gets his penalty removed, he's definitely getting something for this one. Drake Dempsey, already very close. Chimbaye, as Dan Gottschalk has made a move on Quentin Hesch, but they are still side by side. And this is not the end of the battle. Quentin Hesch has to go onto the grass a little bit, but only by 2 wheels. So already able, to be honest, as Quill Pawlakowicz also is under pressure from Luke Mills. Drake Dempsey puts on the fast lap of the race. We'll see at the moment the battle between Luke and Quill for position number 5. Lucas goes for a move down the inside. No, he's decided to stay behind him for just a little bit more. But I think it's going to happen anytime soon. As you can see, the rain is getting even lighter and lighter every single second. So Luke Mills maybe going with all of the drivers, maybe going for dries anytime soon. And I believe this will be mediums for the rest of the Grand Prix. As Team Bayer, under immense pressure from Drake, it's just 0.3 of a second. A move may happen anytime soon. Here in the lead of the Grand Prix, it all probably depends on who's going to get the penalty first, and the one who's getting the least amount of penalties wins around here. We'll see about that. As Drake Dempsey gets, he's nearly touching Team Bayer from behind, which is very, very close between these two. Drake is using all of his ERS. Team Bayer uses a little bit of it as well, but he's got plenty more battery to play with. So even although he may be slower in the corners, on the straights he makes it up with all the ERS he's got. You can see Drake may be closing, but it's not enough of closure. Lukmus at the same time trying to make a move on Quill. However, the Williams driver defends very well. Ferry Wagner with the fastest up of this Grand Prix. Again, indicating us that the conditions are improving here in Canada. I barely see any raindrops as of now. As Arjen Bulbas with Harry Wales changing places, so definitely there is a fight going on here. Harry Wales has to concede the position to Arjen, who's also about to make a move on Hugo Nilsson, I believe. Line merchant. On a serious note, though, Arjen is a very quick driver. Like, he's got 3rd place in the championship season 8. He's got 2nd in season 7, only losing to Caracola. So he's definitely got some pace. Even although he's racing with a line, but it's the only assist allowed in PC F1 anyway. As Drake Dempsey closes down on Team Bayer. but still not enough to make a move. You can see he also has barely any ERS, so I don't think the move is happening anytime soon. Team Bayer 18.9 goes to the first lap of the race, Drake doesn't. And that means, well, Team Bayer has extended his gap by a very little bit. Now my question is when we will see the dry tires, because, well, Chevalier gets another physical time penalty. Justin, when will you stop getting these penalties? I'm wondering. The track is about to be a crossover period as Chevalier looks for a move on George Parr, however attempt unsuccessful as of now. Next up, Luke Mills, still behind Quill Pavlakovic. We're just going to see some happy trains going on here. However, any overtake may be made soon. Probably Drake waits for DRS to be enabled and then he'll overtake Team Bayer. Unless he will go for some desperate move on the inside as Luke Mills warms up his tires. Maybe before overtaking Quill. Not happening just now, but still keeping behind the Williams. Although his podium place is slowly inching away from the Red Bull driver's distance. The gap between the top two is still half a second anyway, so we may as well watch this battle as Team Bayer sets on another fastest lap of the Grand Prix. What will Luke Mills do in comparison? Definitely not the fastest lap. But he's going for a move on Quill on the inside into turn 1, and they touch! However, that touch was so minor that at least Luke Mills didn't spin. And that's the miracle, probably. He used most of his battery though for it, so the fact it didn't work out is not the best. As the Red Bull driver still keeps himself right behind the Williams. Drake Dempsey keeps losing more time, so I believe either he's done a mistake or he's got a wing damage. Or Team Bayer finally used all of his ERS. George Parr has been overtaken by Justin Chevalier in the process. But we'll come back to the Red Bull and the Williams. As we don't need to see tire setup now. We can see position changes though throughout the race as Team Bayer has gone 7 places up. Thanks to all the mess that happened when we were still in the wet conditions. As Luke Mills now goes for a move on the inside of Quill Pavlakovic, secures position number 5. Now he's chasing down Ferry Wagner because we will not open the penalty board if anyone is asking. But just to make sure we're a little bit surprised at the end of the day and the fact we can all calculate it ourselves. Well, that is why. Have a look, losing 4 places comparing to the start, not the greatest situation, but he may still stand at the podium. As looking for any battles going on, Luke Mills has already gone 8/10 ahead of Quill. We go back to the leaders of the race, it's Team Bayer. Well, he's used a little bit of ERS, but not too much, and Drake was saving ERS. So that's the entire mystery of him losing half a second. You can see they've got their level on the ERS level. I don't know who Zaron is, but he definitely hasn't signed up to Ero. And as I once said on the oh, sorry! We'll not focus on the Twitter as of now, as Drake Dempsey goes for a move down the inside of Team Bayer. Attempt unsuccessful though, as he will stay behind Tim for at least hundreds more meters. Coming back though to the Twitter thing, well, I remember when I posted a tweet on the Ero account about, well, if you want to join the lobbies so badly, then just sign up to Ero, and it's easier to do it that way instead of trying to cop in for any reason. As Rank Rob is the first one to put on 70s and 17s, and that's the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Chevalier goes to the pit lane. As far as I'm aware, this track is already crossover. We might be going on the slicks very soon. And Justin pulls out the lever and goes on the mediums. As he is about to come out on track, and we'll see how much time he's losing to George Parr, because this will be a very important indicator that will make drivers know if it's worth it to go for the slicks. We'll see after this corner, not yet, as Justin has lost 3 tenths, but he's lost 3 to 4 tenths. So I believe lap or 2, and he may start gaining. Luke Mills, instead of trying to catch up on McGinty or Wagner, but McGinty has also gone to the pit lane. Sema plays for Mills! That is very surprising to see after the fact that Chevalier is still losing time on the pit lane. But McGinty, Mills, and probably Heshi as well are all going for the mediums. So this might be a little bit too early. As you can see, Chevalier has lost another 10th to George Pa. Or it might be just the right moment, as everyone, starting from McGinty, is now on the sticks, as George Pa has gone to the pits as well. There's only 6 drivers left on the Inter tires. The raindrops are still appearing. Lucas McGinty is still losing time. It may be a right decision to pit now on this particular lap, but not a lap before. Definitely Luke Mills maybe ahead of Kul Pawlakovic, but doubt it, as the top 2 stays out on the Inters. Team Bayer pulling on some great defensive work with this lead of the Grand Prix, and they are also fighting for the fast slaps, so good to see. I wonder what would happen if we were in the clean air, if these 2 drivers were in clean air, what would be the gaps later on. As Team Bayer with a half slide through turns 3 and 4, Jake Dempsey goes for a move down the inside into turn 6, makes it nearly stick. There's a little bit of a touch, however, all clean. Jake Dempsey still has to back out. Still, he's not ahead of Team Bayer. Following the gap between McGinty and Grob though, it's increasing still. But Drake Dempsey is now alongside Team Bayer, makes a move. However, Team Bayer will go down the inside to turn 10. However, Drake will not suffer the same fate as Arjan Bilbas with Ryan Grob, and keeps the lead of the Grand Prix. Now he can fully pull away. Look what's come on. I mean, this pole lap was probably one of the best of his life. However, not the right strategy. He's picked. Just like every single driver starting from the 7th place. As Ferry Wagner picks up another 3-second time penalty. Lucas McGinty lost around half a second as we're following Drake v team. But he starts not to lose anymore. We'll see definitely about after that chicane. The loss is pretty marginal. It's like a 10th, maybe 2. So this might be the lap. This might be, or next one, might be the lap when we're going onto the slick tires fully. With no more raindrops going on. As you can see, Lucas McGinty still has to be very careful on the exits of the corners, but the entries are fine. He's losing around the 10th per chicane. Actually more. Actually that's 3 tenths. But yeah, doable to race on these conditions on the slicks. As Team Bayer will probably have to settle for the 2nd place at the moment, unless Drake pulls out a massive error. George Pa, another 3-second time penalty for the driver who's currently last on the grid. Daniel Gottschalk made a move on Quill. In the meantime, completely haven't realized that. He just appeared from the behind out of nowhere and got his place. And that's position number 4 for Daniel, but still on track. He's behind Kul Pawlakovic due to the time penalty he has. As Chevalier fights Harry Wales into turn 10. They're side by side for position number 12. It's just for the pride, but good to see the fight. Lucas McGinty officially stopped losing though. He's like losing a 10th now. Again. Maybe he still loses, but a little bit slower. I'm still wondering when it's going to be the right moment to put on the medium tires. Because definitely it will be too long for the drivers of the Inters to stay on these and not pit. Although, even though the Inters are like faster on dries than they were in 2021 F1 game, if you want the best comparison possible, just check up the PC F1 French Grand Prix in Season 8 when Cameron Dowd won on track. After that got a 5-second time penalty for cutting the pit lane entry line. However, on track, Cameron was like 3 to 4 seconds slower than Drake, who's now going for the medium tires. However, speaking of which, Drake has the biggest experience in terms of that because he lost that race due to pitting. Now, and in Austrian Grand Prix in Season 6, still on PlayStation when he was, on the F1 2021 game, he was staying out on the Inter tires. He pitted for the Inters, gained like a lot of time. 3 laps before the end of the race, the track suddenly dried up completely, and Kyle Daronia, who was like 14 seconds behind Drake, restored it all and won it on the final corner. Probably one of the best races of all time. Well, it was probably one time when our no assists tier in Season 6 on PlayStation actually worked. As Lucas McGinty nearly spins the process of me storytelling. The RS is officially enabled. This time, it actually means we're having the drives faster, being faster than Inters. And Quill Pavlakovic with Team Bayer are the only 2 left on the track on the green compound. As Team Bayer goes to the pit lane, I believe Quill is going to do the same, unless he hopes for a late safety car. He's going to the pits. Sensible decision. Yellow flags are caused by Justin Chevalier, who spun around. And the exit of turn 7. As Kul Pavlakovic, I believe, is going to rejoin the track on position behind the train, essentially. For Locomotives, it was not the greatest strategy decision. He's still behind Ryan Grob and is also going to be behind Quill, so he still has to regain what he's lost due to the too early pit stop. But we're now officially on the dry tires. Quill Pavlakovic on 6. Maybe going for a podium, if he's lucky enough to stay when 3 seconds of Daniel got shot, then he's definitely 5th. It all depends if Daniel will have to fight, for example, McGinty or Ferry. As Chevalier is out of the race into the pit lane. Not the greatest performance. We have seen him getting plenty of time penalties and spinning around a couple of times, to say the least. As Quill is already having Grob within his DRS. So this is where we might see an overtake sooner than later. Ryan Grob, although he still has that time penalty, so I wonder what he's going to do about it. Drake Dempsey probably going for a dominant win around here. His gap is 7.1 seconds. I don't see it being reduced anytime soon, although Team Bayer has regained a 10th throughout the singular corner. But we'll see him getting around 7.2. Yeah, I was completely right. Drake Dempsey for a dominant win here in Canada, as Ryan Grob made a move on Quill Pavlakovic, and I think Luke Mills is following him on that particular matter, as Quill covers up the inside line into turn 6 and 7. Luke Mills cannot make a move around here, however, he will go for one probably anytime soon as Quill loses the RS touch with Ryan Grob. When that's going to happen, we don't know. Luke Mills approaches the DRS. He gets the DRS of Quill Pavlakovic, who also gets it from Ryan Grob. I don't think Quill is going to fight with Ryan, knowing that he's got a time penalty and is a little bit fast, so he may be as well carried throughout the entire track. Ryan Grob track isn't also gaining on Lucas McGinty, although Lucas is on 4 laps older, medium tires. Like gaining a lot at least. Drake Dempsey made his gap 7.8 already If he keeps on going with this pace, he may be going for the fastest lap at the end of the Grand Prix. If he keeps going on like this as well. Of course, I mean. As Luke Mills with the RS, however, Quentin Hesse is just approaching him from behind. You can see he's 1.1 seconds, so matter of time if he gets the RS. As soon as he keeps it consistent throughout every single corner on the next lap. As this DRS is definitely going to help Luke Mills go away from Quentin Hesse's this touching distance. 8.5 is the gap already between the leader and the second place. But Team Bayer is still doing great. Possibly going for the first podium. You can see the track is definitely dry right now with Luke Mills having his lap time improved by over half a second. So like there's not a single bit of water. Not a single bit of water on track now. There may be a little bit of a sand though, with what we've seen on the exit of turn 3. But Luke is lapping pretty consistently around here. Not allowing him to do the move though, as Quentin Hesse is officially within the RS of Luke Mills. Oh, cool, Pawlakowicz has spun on the process. Losing a couple of places, he's going to rejoin the track probably on position number 10 if he doesn't go away now. He's going now, so he's probably going to stay in, although he's going to be very, very close from being overtaken by Jan Bilbas, or actually being overtaken by Jan Bilbas despite the fact he has the RS. Well, Jan Bilbas goes for a move on the Williams driver, makes it position number 9 after incident with drop. 100% in fault of that one, of that dive on turn 6. Jan Bilbas is now having 2 points in the championship as long as he goes away from Kulf by like 3 seconds at least. He nearly spins in the process as well. Magenti is very, very close from Ferry Wagner. Also having very great performance here in Canada. Also the gap between Drake and team is already 10 seconds. You can see he's actually mastered this track as Jake Dempsey holds the world record in time trial in F1 2023 cars here in Montreal. It's over 10 seconds already. I'm going to see if there's any moves going on around here, but I don't think so. Lucas Magenti, well, he may be going for a one now. He's got a little bit more ERS comparing to Ferry Wagner. However, he's not. As Lucas Magenti still 3/10 behind Ferry, but not pulling any moves now. Who may win on this situation is maybe Daniel Gottschalk, who's closer to Magenti than Magenti is to Ferry. Very, very close from getting into the wall though. Here as well. Now we're about to probably see a three-way battle between these three drivers, fight for the final podium spot. You can see Daniel Gottschalk goes for a move on the inside of Lucas Magenti, very, very close from touching, squeezing him into the inside a little bit, but Daniel Gottschalk makes it stick. Now he's going to chase down Ferry Wagner, but the move is not happening just yet. As you can also see, the sun is shining already over this track, so we're definitely not getting any rain towards the end of the race. Drake Dempsey is already 12 seconds ahead of Team Bayer, so the win of today's Grand Prix has already been settled. with Daniel Gottschalk right behind Timbaya. Sorry, Daniel Gottschalk right behind, right behind Ferry Wagoner, following the DRS of him, but not thinking of a move so far. As he nearly spins. Could see a little bit of a save around here. As none of these drivers have ERS now. Like, none of them in the DRS rate. Also, Ryan Gropp and Luke Mills don't have any ERS as well. But the first driver to have any sort of batteries, Arjan Bulbas with Klub Pawlakovic. Let's see Drake for comparison. He's using all of it now. Team Bayer also has no ERS, so you can see the ERS management on this track goes into pieces. I also wonder how is ERS management so inconsistent out of the tracks. For example, in the Netherlands you barely gain anything, but at Monza you gain 20% of it. I know that Monza is a track with characteristics. It's like you go fast, like 340 kilometers per hour with DRS, and then you go all the way to 60 in like 2 seconds. I understand that the ERS may also load up differently, as there's a spin. That's Lucas Magenti, who's calling out a full safety car whilst waiting for all the drivers to go past him, losing his front wing, lucky to stay in the race. However, we're definitely going to see some action here at the end of the Grand Prix. Team Bias stays out, hopes that he will get Drake at least on track, as they're going to be very, very close to each other, but I don't think Drake is going to lose the place, though, as they will be side by side on the exit of the pit lane. However, Drake keeps it. Told you. He's keeping it by 0.3 of a second. Ferry Wagoner and Ryan Gropp have decided to stay on track, so probably the only teams that have decided to do so are McLaren and Alfa Romeo. Also, we can count on Klub Pawlakovic. Also, don't know what happened to McGinty, but he's out of the race. Luke Mills goes onto the grass. He cannot be overtaken by Quentin Hesh, but they have decided to race will to will and to turn 4. Lucas Magenti out of the Grand Prix. It was a great weekend for him, however, the last 5 laps weren't the greatest. And we're going to have 2 laps of racing. Have you realized that? Well, these days when Cameron was a driver in Ero, well, he still is a reserve on his way to Cameron's Daton Jet. He's still on the reserves. He may still jump in whenever. But yeah, the days we could probably see Drake v Cameron in the championship. Well, definitely not this season. Hopefully the next one. We've still got plenty of competitive drivers. Not of course Drake, but also both McLarens. Daniel Gottschalk has joined us recently. Auto drivers from the ABS racing team. For all those wondering, they don't use anti-lock brakes assist. But still, though we've got 15 drivers in the grid today, a couple of late pullouts unfortunately, one unreported absence of Tony Ricci himself though, we still got a pretty entertaining action here. At least it's a bit of time for storytelling of Season 6, Season 5, whatever happened. I haven't only mentioned Real Formula 1 to be honest. I love that race. Got a bit of an action so far. We're going to get lots of it right now. Sensational pole position. Like, there's plenty of things that happened here. And, of course, in the meantime, on lap 33, I want to tell you that all the links, just visit them after the race. You've still got 2 more laps to watch. But after the race, you can check on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or mainly Discord server, which is in the description of this live stream, at least as far as I'm aware. It's not just a racing league. We're actually a community of over 2,000 people who love league racing, but that's not all. Also, Can you explain me the Alpine in the pit lane? How McGinty has done an entire lap already? I don't know. He's probably looking for a place to retire. The AI not being the smartest though. Now he's finally pulled over as we're going with the last 2 laps of the Canadian Grand Prix. Drake Dempsey leads it on the fresh compound on soft. So the only way for Team Bayer to win this race is to make a desperate move into turn 1. It would be now or never for him. Drake Dempsey keeps warming up the tires on the first gear. Now he's pushing. Now we're restarting for the final 2 laps of the race. 2 more time penalties for both Ferrari drivers on the final chicane as it's lap 34. The penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. However, Drake Dempsey keeps the position number 1 and I believe he's about to win the entire race as he's already 4 tenths ahead of Team Bayer and is on the fresh softs. This is a massive advantage for him. You can see he's gaining time. So we may probably go to the midfield as Luke Mills is very, very close to Kul Pawlakovic, who's about to cover the inside line. Not this time. It's Luke Mills going for a move on the inside. If there's an incident going on here, it's not going to be great for the Red Bull, but Luke Mills goes for position number 6, covers up Quentin Hesh. There's a side-by-side, there's 3-way battle between Ferraris and Kul Pawlakovic, who's losing all of the places in the process. Now it's that's Arjan Bilbas will to will with Quill. Now he's losing the place though, so we can see that Daniel Gottschalk is also side by side with Ferry Wagner, going for him for position number 3. First was the medium runner. There's a touch between these two. Ferry Wagner squeezes Daniel Gottschalk, forces him to leave a little bit of space. However, it was very, very close for both drivers to DNF. Ryan Gropp waits for something to happen on position number 5. Say a place for Luke Mills, who's definitely on course for the podium now. He's got no time penalties on his account. George Parr with 3-second time penalty. There's surprisingly 5 drivers with no penalties, which we haven't seen in lower tiers. However, in the final lap, Ferry Wagner fights Daniel Gottschalk again. This time, they both spin round, and Luke Mills goes for a triple move on Ryan Gropp as well to make up to the 3rd place on track as well, not only after penalties, also on the track surface. Fantastic performance for Luke Mills, but Ryan Gropp was looking for a move down the inside, however, not successful this time. It's a fight for 4th place between him and both Ferrari drivers, so we'll watch down one from Arjan Bilbas' perspective. As Quentin Hesh, you can see how close he was to Ryan Gropp. However, it may be this opportunity for him for a last move, for the last chance to make anything. Hugo Nilsson spins or actually loses the place in the process to both Parr and Wales. As look, Arjan Bilbas side by side nearly with Ryan Gropp, haven't gained 2 places. Now he's going through both of the drivers. First, he's gone ahead of Ryan Gropp. Then he's going ahead of his teammate for today's race, Quentin Hesh. But they are not going to fight, as Arjan Bilbas will finish this race on 4th place. We'll see it after the penalties. However, Quentin Hesh may go for a switch back and move onto the line. They are side by side above Ferraris, and it was Quentin Hesh in front. I don't know what was the gap between these two. However, Bilbas has got way more penalties than Quentin, and that meant he dropped all the way to ninth. Fantastic action around Canada. We've got all we wanted. Kul Pawlakovic is the driver of the day, but I think my driver of the day is definitely Luke Mills. Not only the pole position, but the recovery drive from like 10th to 3rd on these last 2 laps. I also think that the incident between Gottschalk and Wagner is going to be reported. Drake Dempsey wins it for the 3rd time. No, he hasn't won. He has won for the 3rd time this season, but not in a row, as he's got a penalty in Austria for basically pushing Southern Vitae off and Team Bayer as well. As Drake Dempsey stands on top, 3rd time of the season, and extending his championship lead massively. Is this the season when Drake actually wins? We don't know. He was close in Season 6, he was close in Season 7. We'll have a short press conference afterwards. However, it's raining again. It's raining again. Conmasters, can you fix this? Anyway, Drake Dempsey wins. His fastest lap, 1.5 seconds faster than the rest of the field. Team by a 2nd, Luke Mills, Pawlakovic, Harry Wales with the 5th place on his return. So that's fantastic. 6th place for Quentin Hesh, then Ryan Gropp, Hugo Nilsson, Arjan Bilbas, George Parr, Daniel Gottschalk, Ferry Wagner, Lucas Magenti, Justin Chevalier, and Julio Figueira. I still think there might be something between Drake, Luke Mills, and Daniel for the early part of the race. As we have just finished the Grand Prix here in Ero, but we'll get some of the speeches into the conference. I definitely want to interview Luke Mills. Because pole position and third place in the race, well, that is fantastic. As, yeah, fantastic return for Harry Wales, who's wondering now in the post race chat how he's got into the 5th place. Well, avoiding the trouble is the key to success. He's definitely the Pc F1 reserve spot now. Because that was fantastic. Luke is about to join us within seconds, I believe. As we're just taking them here.
Been leading the.
Oh.
Sorry,
Oh.
We nearly got
Yep.
the same thing as I believe that was in Netherlands when you were just going, when you're just waffling and stuff, and it was the stream going. Anyway, who's the driver of the day today? I'm going to ask you too.
Not sure. I didn't pay attention. I was just
Like, I'm not saying the in-game driver of the day. I'm saying your driver of the day.
Oh, well, I mean,
I guess Tim Bale,
don't-
maybe. I don't know. I don't know
yeah,
where
he did pretty
on the
good.
grid.
Me neither. He didn't start low, but he did get up to first for a second.
Yeah.
But I mean, in all honesty, Luke Mills did really good this week. I mean, he got pole and then he got third after a good recovery. So that's my driver of the day.
Yeah.
He did a really good job. So credit to him.
We definitely need to see Luke Mills' hot lap, that pole lap from Canada, because, well, getting the pole position of all people, I was surprised myself. How about you?
It's
I took a bet for the
genuinely-
intermediate. I thought it might be a little bit close near the end since it was getting faster and faster every time I clicked over on it. And it was 8/10 when I left the pit lane at like 4 minutes to go. So maybe, but it just wasn't there. So
Yeah,
I mean, he still did a good job to get pole. So, but
I told Hugo to leave the pit lane. I said, go 8 on inters. It's not worth it. These wets are it's going to be too dry. And then
yeah,
everyone went out on inters. I was still out there on wets, and I just hooked up a lap perfectly, pretty much.
Definitely lap of your life, right?
Up there. I don't know if it's lap of my life. I mean, it was very hooked up considering I'm not good at Canada. It's one of my worst strikes by far. But, like, say if anyone else was in those conditions on the grid that I was in, probably would have beat my time. The majority of the grid would have. So
Wow.
while it was really good, it was sketchy. But I couldn't believe it when I was on pole. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I also went like, wow, how have you done that? I was betting on you getting second, but first. Sorry, no way. Still, beauty of a lap. Now we've also got the second place finisher Team Bayer around here. So great start from the back of the grid. I believe it was P8 or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, and made it all the way to P2. Tell us how it went. Tell
What
us
did
how
you
it
say?
went.
Yeah, to be honest, qualifying was disappointing, but we put on a wet setup for the race, and I remember the first lap was a bit messy, but I already made up 2 positions. So, and I don't know which lap it was, but they fought in the lead, and I had a good spot to overtake all of them and took the lead. But later Drake overtook me because as soon as it was interconditions, the straight line speed was just a bit too quick, and the inters started overheating. But as soon as we had to switch to mediums, yeah, it was gone for me probably. So, but overall, I had to save some fuel in the last laps until the safety car came. But overall, I'm really happy, to be honest. Finally a podium after some unlucky races. But yeah, I'm sad for my teammate Ryan, who had a bit of trouble in, yeah, I think it was lap 34 or something like that. But overall, GG's to Drake and to the man in P3. So yeah, that's it.
Still fantastic performance from you three. But I've got one more question because unfortunately I missed that one on stream. But what happened exactly around lap 6, I believe it was, when Drake and Luke all lost places, same applies to Daniel Gottschalk, I believe. What happened there? That's my question.
As I had to in qualifying, I saw how weird the weather was, full wet, intermediate, then dry into the race, and I knew I didn't. It was not a good idea to run high wings, and that I was capable of running like slightly lower. So I did not change my wings from my dry setup at all. So I was running considerably lower compared to like the likes of Tim and whatnot, as demonstrated from the straight line speed I had at some points during that race when I was behind him. I was also, for that reason, braking early in the wet because it was kind of treacherous out there. So I just got rear-ended, and yeah, it wasn't. It was a tricky situation. I don't know. I'd have to see a point of view to see really what happened, but going forward, having to overtake people was rough because of the wings. It felt like dirty air was just multiplied by several times that of what it would usually be. So it was tough to get back up there, but once I was in clean air catching Tim, it felt really nice. So it took a while, but yeah, I managed to get past, and after a few good battles, and it was a bit of a golden road from there, just to try to stay in front and keep good pace. And I was on 2 warnings after like lap 20 something. I don't really know the exact number of laps how I got that second warning on, but I just didn't want to get another penalty. So I feel like it was a good race in terms of pace, really good race. But yeah, just unlucky with the incident that happened early on.
Yup, and that's, I believe, all of the action for today. I hope you all enjoyed, despite the low attendance, which I'm still not happy about, but I still really enjoyed that one. Fantastic to watch. And there is more action going on in half an hour in Canada, and it's going to be a PlayStation F1 TS streamed at 6 PM UK when they will start the short qualifying. Also, a reminder to all of you to like and subscribe to the channel, as there are weekly races around here, and we are going to continue racing, this time in Circuit of the Americas, home circuit of Drake Dempsey, and we'll see you there in a week's time in all of the 8 tiers. However, the race is going to happen earlier by half an hour due to the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, which is happening in real Formula 1 world. For now, bye bye.